G'day everyone. I'm Joe Millward, TAFE New South Wales. We're based in Australia. We're a government funded and run training institute. If you go to the next slide, please. I'm talking about the sort of lessons learned, walking before we run type of scenario. Last year I spoke, we had a mandate of delivering a whole bunch of experiences. We thought we were just going to be able to come straight out of the gate and roll with it. And we learned a lot. The last 12 months has sort of really shown us that there's a lot of complexity in trying to deliver this stuff to scale. I'll take you through a journey of what we've been finding over the last 12 months. Next slide. So, as I mentioned, we are quite big. 136 campuses. Some of our campuses are completely remote, and you might have, 6 or 7 teachers, 6 hours away from anybody else. So we've got 25,000 industry connections, over 1,200 courses, and that's everything from nursing to hospitality to construction. So we'll go on to my next slide. Can I go back to the previous slide for a sec? Whoa. Backwards. I've got no control, I feel weird up here. So we've got 500,000 commencing students every year, so that's quite a big number. We had a great meeting with Facebook yesterday and sort of explained that, and that's a solid amount of people. If we start to roll that stuff out, it's going to change how learning happens for us, and it's really important. But the big part of that is those 12,000 teachers. We have to bring them on board with the journey. So the average age of our teachers are 51, so trying to explain to those guys that this toaster on your face is going to change how you teach is quite a complex thing to do. So the next slide is our show reel. So I'll just show you. Oh, actually, I'm all out of water. So this is our structure of our team, which is the Digital Lab. My innovation team is focused on 2 to 5 years out. So we have to start planning today, but we want to look at delivering that sort of 2 to 5 year window. Immersive technology is our main focus, but we're supported by machine learning and AI. We also have 2 other teams, a learning tech team, who focus more on edutech and the traditional ways of learning with digital tools. And our learning analytics team are our data gurus. So they spend the time making sure we do the right things and have the data support what we're working on. So what I'm going to cover is 4 areas. Content, we've done a lot of work on that. The technology that we need to get this done. How we change the mindset of the people, and what I think the future is going to look like as well. All right, so content. What our initial focus looks like at the moment is we're not really sort of trying to do proper assessment quite yet. We're not at that stage, and it's going to take a while to get through. Excellent, I feel much more stable. All right, so but preparation for that assessment is really important. So making sure people understand a process before they're going to do a practical application. So if they're an automotive student, they know how to take the engine apart before they actually start working on a real engine. If they're a childcare worker, they get to work with virtual children before they're working with the real thing. And you'll see some virtual childcare stuff we're working on. With AR, we're looking at enhancing printed content and handouts that get handed out in the classroom, also posters in the library, other things, so using that as a really lightweight communication tool. Marketing communication is obviously big as well, so our marketing team love the AR stuff in particular. Social VR we see as well. As I mentioned, we've got a big group of campuses and they're all over the state, so there's that isolation element, especially with our online students as well. If they don't get time to catch up on a campus, we can bring the campus to them with virtual reality. And then obviously things like campus induction and getting onboarding as well. So this is our show reel. So this is like 12 months of work. Move the stand up. So virtual kids. This is our minister opening our lab in VR, which is really important for us. All right, so where are we at the moment? Just before my team started, we were sort of at the experiment stage. So the team that came before me had already gone through that validation process, and I was very thankful for not having to sell it to the organisation. But we're in this build stage at the moment, so we're sort of halfway. We're starting to define our pipelines. We're understanding how we're going to start to get some coordination between the different builds we're doing, and making sure we've got standardizations of interaction design and being able to deliver stuff to multiple headsets. We've just done our first Quest builds, which have been a really interesting exercise, but super valuable. And we're on that stage to start to look at what scale looks like. So we've got probably another 6 months to start to prepare to get this into classrooms. And it's really important that we start now and don't sort of do it at the last minute and try and get this stuff in classrooms quickly. So what we've done, 14 prototypes so far. And they're various stuff, as you saw on the show reel. AR applications with the HoloLens, stuff with Zappa that we've done with printed content, and we've actually deployed the 2 AR and VR platform solutions that I'll talk about in a minute. We've installed 10 dedicated virtual reality room scale setups across the state, and that allows students or teachers to jump into those experiences and see what we're working on. We've tested over 15 headsets in the lab at the moment, and we will continue to bring in all the latest tech to look at if it's fit for purpose and understand how it works and what the benefits are of each type of headset, and we're happy to share that information. And then we've commenced our VR pilot programs right now, so we're just starting to get into groups and understand the challenges of actually delivering it in a classroom. So advice for people starting out is start small. If anyone knows the dozers from the Fraggles, you want to make them small but industrious. But begin with a targeted pilot. So actually really think about what you're trying to do. Does it have benefit for the business? Does it actually deliver organisational change? Develop a multi-stage plan though. So even though you are starting small, understand that you're going to have that ability to actually have a continuous improvement and iteration on what you're building. Research your development options. There's a lot of different ways you can actually get into the game. You can obviously use third party. For us, having a dedicated internal resource is probably the most important thing that we understood. I mean, I come from 20 years in animation. My team are all professionals. We've got one guy who's actually come from TAFE, but all the rest are external. And the guy from TAFE's got 17 years experience in ICT and is an audio genius. He's at the back of the room. So for me, having those really specialised experts is important because we're able to really quickly make a decision, build something, test it, turn it around, as opposed to having to go out to a third-party studio. You just lose that momentum. So it's great to have both. So it's great to have partner studios that we work with, etc. But we're really having that internal resource is important. But the big thing at the end is reviewing our results before the next steps. We want to make sure what we're building is valuable. And if we aren't building it right, we want to change it. We want to throw it out and start again, etc. Oops, back one. So this is, I showed this slide last year. This was research we did with an agency to understand all of the considerations. And this is like a lot of them. We're finding even more now that we have to think about to start to scale this stuff. It just continues to grow. This list gets longer and longer, and I'm happy to, if anyone wants advice on where to look and what to do. But there's a lot of stuff there. Everything from obviously constraints like user constraints, hardware constraints. The maturity of the headsets in particular sort of was holding us back. And I've already talked about the Quest once, but yeah, I mean for us, Quest was a real game changer in regards to saying, yes, I can actually take this, a teacher can turn it on, it works straight away. I don't have to sort of explain how to set it up. It doesn't involve a PC, it's not complex. I did a demo on the plane on the way over with the air hostesses at the back of the room, the plane in Beat Saber, and you couldn't have done that 12 months ago. Looking at the importance of iteration, so our plumbing application that you saw on the show reel, we've done 23 iterative versions of this app. And one of the examples of just a small change is we've got a phone in there, you call the electrician. The first version was a spatialized audio experience where you had to hold the phone up to your head, and no one did that. They just looked at the phone because they're in VR and they just look at stuff. So we changed it to a FaceTime call. But that's just small things, and we just kept changing. We want to make it to the point where someone can get into the experience, not have to have someone talking to them through the experience. They can just work on it. They've got a narrator who actually explains what to do next. So just making it seamless and making it really easy. We have a couple of quests floating around. If you guys want to jump into demos, we can do those for you as well. Harnessing talent's a really good one too. So we're lucky to have 500 or so animation students. So we're able to work with them, get them on our projects, and actually, so they're working on real projects, students working on real stuff that's actually going to go into the hands of teachers, etc. So this is artwork that these animation students have built for a science lab program we're building at the moment. So if you've got that talent that's in-house, if you've got CAD guys, or you've got any other people that touch 3D, or even your marketing team that might have some graphic design capabilities, you know, if you've got those guys, get them encouraged to explore what they can do with the technology. So moving into tech, as I mentioned, we have decided on 2 platforms. Zappar for us, you know, it's a darling of AWE. The beauty of Zappar is the fact that it's got 2 layers of authoring, so you're able to sort of have a really lightweight experience that a graphic designer, for example, could actually jump into and do a good AR experience. And then Immerse, for us, it was the most sophisticated multi-user VR platform that we saw on the market. It just had ticked all the right boxes for us from an analytics backend and a whole bunch of great stuff that the guys have been building. And we're working with them quite closely on their roadmap as well. And a big thing is understanding the hardware strengths. So we started out, Vive Pro was our sort of unit that we were using. We had a lot of challenges, to be honest with it. It'll still stay within the lab as one of our headsets, but we're definitely looking at the Rift S as an alternate option for development in particular, inside-out tracking, not having to worry about lighthouses or wireless kits and all the other bits and pieces we've been trying to play with. And then for deployment, we're definitely looking at Quest, just as I said, for that turnkey solution ability. You know, great support from Oculus as well and Facebook. So being able to sort of have a good relationship with the vendor, I think, is critical. But for us, as I said, I can demo it anywhere. I've done demos in cafes, I've done demos everywhere. But a teacher can take it home, they can explore, they can experiment, they can, you know, really get involved in the technology. It's accessible, not as scary as the other headsets. And you're not dealing with Steam updates, Windows updates, and all the other technicalities of a PC. Some of the challenges are obviously the hardware software support's huge. We have a great dedicated ICT division, and they're starting to work on the journey of us. How do we support this? How do we support this if we've got 12,000 teachers actually engaging with this technology? That onboarding process is particularly scary, and we want to make sure that if they have any issues, they can raise a ticket with ICT, they can get the support that they need, and it's turned around relatively quickly. And especially if it's hampering delivery of content, we can't have that being delayed. User training is huge. We're going to be doing a lot of user training for our teachers to make sure that they're confident with the technology before they start having to teach with it. You don't want to have them sort of fumbling around and looking like they're not experts. So you want them to be confident, being able to deliver the content the same way they do in a practical setting. You want to do the same thing with a virtual setting. Network security, bandwidth considerations are all huge. Bandwidth's a particular challenge. We've got remote areas that don't even have, you know, fibre or have even ADSLs in some places. So you've got those challenges of how do we actually have that stuff. So we're looking at offline solutions. We're looking at caching of experiences that then, you know, when they connect back to Wi-Fi, the data gets uploaded to the cloud. Content licensing is another one. You know, we've got, if we're going to buy a bunch of headsets, I don't want to be paying $60, $30, whatever I'm paying for each third-party content. So having those agreements to be able to sort of scale out those third-party content is really important. And then data and storage. The Immerse platform tracks video and audio of every session. And we've got to understand where we're going to put all that stuff, and also how do we actually share that with our learning record store, with our LMS, to make sure that the students' work that they're doing in VR is tracked. So going to people, this is a great slide, I really like it. That one at the top is the #1 reason that we're doing this stuff. So people can't press play and walk away. They can't sort of put a YouTube clip on and say, I've watched the YouTube clip while they're making a coffee. In VR, you can't fake it. In AR, you can't fake it. You've got to be 100% engaged with the technology for it to work. So from a student's perspective, I've done guest lectures at universities, and you know, I'm shocked at the number of students that are just sitting on their phone ignoring me. So they can't do that in VR. So they can't even find their phone, let alone actually engage with it. Contextual relevance is really important for AR. Obviously, if you can contextualize that environment and serve the information that you need based on that context, it's huge. Embodied cognition is great. You know, muscle memory is, you know, increases learning by 50 to 70%. Tracking and data, as I've already mentioned, we're tracking 18 unique data points 90 times a second in VR, and obviously geospatial, all different areas inside AR. And then the last one's the emotional connection. I mean, the virtual children that we're building, you'll have to actually sort of get down and look at eye to eye with them and actually start to build a rapport to actually be able to deliver that effective sort of experience with them. And the kids might be too shy. There's a really interesting areas we can explore. But even just the excitement that people are getting with the technology has been really important. So engagement 101 for us, most important is find an executive sponsor within your organisation as senior as possible. We have our managing director who's the most senior manager in the organisation. She's our executive sponsor, fully supportive. We've got our executive leadership team all bought in on the vision. Get everybody in a headset. In the lab, we've got a rule, no lab, no headset, no lab. So if you don't walk in the door and get in a headset, we'll ask you to leave, because people have to understand what this technology does. They can't sort of look at it from afar and say, oh yeah, I know that stuff. I've done VR. I've tried Google Cardboard. It's just not good enough. So for us, it's really important to make sure they understand that technology and they're fans and they understand why we're doing this. Supporting our fans. So we make sure that we identify people that are really encouraged in the space already, and we're going to start having VR and AR champions that are going to help support the vision we've got. Recording our successes, so speaking at conferences like this, any press that we've got, we make sure we actually sort of share that across the organisation and beyond. And informing all our stakeholders of what's going on. We don't want to sort of have this dropped on them last minute and they don't understand where we're going, so it's really, really important. So nurturing our advocates, a really robust onboarding plan. You saw the VR induction on our show reel. So that's a escape room style fun experience for students and teachers to understand how to use VR before they're training and learning inside VR. So you want to make sure that they're comfortable in the technology before you then get them to actually understand a lesson. Ensure we've got access to equipment. We're looking at, as I said, rolling out Quest headsets quite a bit. We do have our room scale setups already, but it's actually increasing that. So making sure if people want to try the technology, they've got the ability to do so. Encouraging exploration as well. We'll have a number of third-party applications like Tiltbrush and other things that they can jump in and play with as well, because play is really important too. And then building steps to mastery. We really want to have the people that are excited about the technology now to actually be recognised for the talent that they have in the space. So looking at the future, this was what I think is probably the most important stuff for us. So non-technical authoring. This is Immersive's authoring technology that they've just announced. We're a partner in getting this developed. It allows you, a teacher or a trainer, to actually bring in 3D content and build their own lessons. And that's what I really want to get to. It's great for my team to currently build stuff, but to really be able to scale this, I need to give this to our 12,000 teachers, and they need to be able to author their own experiences. I think it's really important for them to get that feedback with the analytics, as you can see down the bottom. And there's like that guided step of each step of the process. They're able to sort of build that themselves. And if we can do that effectively, and they see the feedback, they see how their students are improving with those analytics, they're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep wanting to build unique experiences. And we'll keep doing masterclasses and getting them to understand what the best approaches are. When to, you don't want to like kill a student in VR, or you don't want to do X, Y, Z. So there's all these lessons learned we've done. So for me, it's making sure that they understand those boundaries, but also letting them explore and deliver the content the way that they want to. And similar with Zappar, a big part of the choice for going with Zappar was the Sketchfab integration as well. So 13 million or so 3D models allows our teachers to grab content really easily, serve it onto a poster, serve it onto a handout really quickly, deliver lightweight content that they can actually get feedback. Again, the analytics are really important for us for both of the platforms to make sure that what they're doing is effective. We're also encouraging our animation students and our creative students to actually jump on the Zappar platform as well. We want them creating hundreds of apps across the organisation that we can see, and we can give them rewards for if they're actually doing a great job and the app's trending, etc. So there's some really interesting stuff we're doing in the non-technical authoring space. And then sort of the third area, like we've played around with most of the AR headsets. I think, and it was great to have a sort of segue from the last talk, I think the technology is not quite there, but it's coming. Initially, as the previous speaker said, it's going to be an occasional use thing. But the great thing is all the content that we're building at the moment can be reused for an AR spatial environment. But I see a quick shift. I mean, you've got Steve Mann there who's been living in these headsets for since the 80s. So, I mean, there is going to be a shift to persistent eyewear, and I think that's when spatial AR will become really important. But we also have to understand how to deliver that content so it's not that constant barrage of information. So it's got to be those bite-sized chunks that have that contextual relevancy. And then you're going to have that merging of AR and VR as the eventuality, where you'll have a pair of glasses that can switch modes, lightweight, easy, and constantly able to be accessed. All right, so in conclusion, as Homer says, the future is here. The technology's here now, as we've all realised, but the rules still aren't set. I mean, we're discovering new stuff every single day. We're doing stuff that's never been done before, and you know, it's exciting, but it's a little bit scary as well. Demand's going to increase from customers. You know, I was in a music class the other day and I brought out the Quest and I had like a gaggle of students coming around. They knew exactly what it was. They're like, when are we getting these headsets? There's a really great platform called Tribe. They demoed last year and they do VR DJ stuff. So we're going to actually start doing a pilot with them. But yeah, there's going to be demand, like especially for us in education, the youth, that, you know, they know this stuff and it's natural for them already. They come in a gaming background, they love this stuff. Developing infrastructure and process to support scale is important. You know, there's no point just deploying a whole bunch of headsets. It's just not going to work. It's going to fall over and it's going to damage the industry. So we've got to be really important, strategic, think about all the stuff we have to think about. As I said, we're happy to share. We're a government organisation, we're non-profit. It's really important that everybody's doing the right thing so we're not damaging the ecosystem. Systems need to be adaptive for future change. You know, as we've seen in the last 12 months, it's been crazy. Ori's presentation this morning just proved how far this stuff has gone. And the last one is experimentation. Experimentation is essential. We've got a smell generator in the lab because I want to see what olfactory response looks like when you've got a VR headset on. So all that stuff has to be explored, and we're lucky enough to have that, to be able to do that. Thanks a lot.